Karen sat beside us on the flight. She stared at my sister's red weighted blanket. Then she claimed it was airline property. She said it belonged to first class. She demanded we hand it over. When we refused, she reached across and tried grabbing it from my terrified sister. That's when the flight attendant arrived. What happened next was pure justice. She shut Karen down so completely, passengers started filming. The entitled woman's face went pale. Security was called. And the whole plane erupted in applause as Karen was escorted off in shame. Before you watch full story, comment below from which country are you watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories. The airport terminal buzzed with the usual chaos of a Friday afternoon. I stood in line at gate 23 with my younger sister Emma, waiting to board flight 447 to Denver. Around us, travelers dragged suitcases, checked phones, and complained about delays. Just another normal day of flying. Or so I thought. Emma stood close beside me. Too close. Her arms wrapped around a red weighted blanket like it was a life preserver. Her knuckles were white from gripping it so hard. I could see the tension in her shoulders. The fear in her eyes. "You okay?" I asked softly. She nodded quickly. But I knew better. Emma hated flying. The crowds. The noise. The feeling of being trapped in a metal tube thousands of feet above the ground. It all terrified her. That's why she had the blanket. It wasn't just any blanket. It was a weighted blanket. 15 pounds of deep pressure therapy wrapped in soft, red fabric. Her doctor had recommended it 2 years ago when her anxiety got really bad. Emma had saved her allowance for 6 months to buy it. That blanket was more than fabric and weight. It was her security. Her comfort. Her way of telling the world to slow down. "We'll be fine," I promised. "Just a few hours in the air. Then we'll be at Aunt Sarah's house eating her famous cookies." Emma managed a small smile. "I know. I just need my blanket." "And you have it," I said. "Nobody's taking it from you." I had no idea how wrong I was. That's when I heard the voice. Sharp. Loud. Cutting through the gate area like nails on a chalkboard. "No, you don't understand. I specifically requested an aisle seat in the front of the plane. Do you not speak English?" I turned toward the sound. A woman stood at the check-in counter. She looked about 50 years old. Expensive designer clothes. Perfect hair. Too much makeup. Her face was twisted in anger as she jabbed her finger at the gate agent's screen. The gate agent, a tired-looking man in his 30s, kept his voice calm and professional. "Ma'am, according to our system, you're assigned to seat 12C. That is an aisle seat." "I don't want row 12, she snapped. "I want row 5. I always sit in row 5. "I apologize, ma'am, but row 5 is completely full. Your confirmed seat is 12C. The woman's face turned red. "This is unacceptable. Do you know how much I pay for flights? Do you know who I am?" The gate agent didn't flinch. "Your seat is 12C, ma'am. If you'd like to discuss seat changes, you can speak with the flight attendants once you board." The woman grabbed her boarding pass with a violent snap. She turned on her heel, her designer purse swinging. As she stormed past us, a cloud of heavy perfume followed her. It was so strong it made my eyes water. Emma leaned close to me. "She seems really angry." "Some people are just like that," I said. "Don't worry about it." But something in my gut told me to worry. Something about the way that woman moved. The entitlement in her voice. The rage in her eyes. I had a bad feeling we hadn't seen the last of her. 20 minutes later, they called our boarding group. Group 3. We shuffled forward with the crowd. Emma kept her blanket pressed against her chest. She did her breathing exercises as we moved down the jet bridge. In through the nose. Out through the mouth. 5 counts each way. You're doing great, I encouraged. Almost there. We stepped onto the plane. The flight attendant smiled and welcomed everyone aboard. The cabin smelled like recycled air and cleaning products. We moved down the narrow aisle, checking seat numbers. 12A and 12B. Our seats. Window and middle. You take the window, I said to Emma. She always wanted the window. She liked being able to look outside. It helped distract her from the fact that she was flying. Emma slid into 12A. I took 12B, the middle seat. That left 12C empty. The aisle seat. I hoped whoever sat there would be nice. Quiet. Easy. I should have known better. Emma spread her red blanket across her lap. The weight of it settled on her legs. I watched her whole body relax. Her breathing slowed. Her shoulders dropped. The blanket was working its magic. She put in her earbuds and pulled out her phone. She had a playlist ready. Calm music. Nature sounds. Things that helped her stay grounded. I pulled out the book I'd brought. A mystery novel I'd been trying to finish for weeks. Maybe I'd actually get some reading done on this flight. The plane filled up slowly. People stuffed bags into overhead bins. Parents tried to calm crying babies. Flight attendants moved up and down the aisle, helping passengers find their seats. Then I saw her coming. The woman from the gate. The angry one. She was moving down the aisle toward us, her face set in a permanent scowl. She checked her boarding pass. Looked at the seat numbers. Looked at our row. No. Please no. She stopped right at our row. Excuse me, she said. Not polite. Not friendly. Just cold words. I stood up and stepped into the aisle to let her pass. She didn't say thank you. She just pushed past me and dropped into seat 12C with a heavy sigh. Great. Just great. She shoved her enormous designer purse under the seat in front of her. Then she stood back up and opened the overhead bin. She lifted her suitcase, medium-sized, beige, expensive-looking, and laid it flat in the bin. Flat. Taking up the entire space. A businessman across the aisle cleared his throat. Excuse me, ma'am. If you stand that bag upright, there'll be room for other people's bags. She didn't even look at him. It's fine the way it is. I have fragile items inside. But there's no room for anyone else, the man said. She finally turned her head. Slowly. Her eyes were cold. Then they should have boarded earlier. The man's jaw tightened. But he didn't argue. He just shook his head and walked back down the aisle to find space elsewhere. I grabbed our 2 backpacks and carried them up 3 rows. I found space in a bin that wasn't completely hogged by one selfish person. I put our bags in neatly. Side by side. The way normal humans do. When I got back to my seat, I noticed something. The woman was staring. Not at me. At Emma. Specifically, at Emma's blanket. Her eyes were locked on that red fabric. She stared for a long time. Too long. It made my skin crawl. Emma noticed too. I saw her shift uncomfortably. She pulled the blanket a little higher. Closer to her chin. The woman's lips curved into a smile. But it wasn't a warm smile. It was the kind of smile a cat gives a mouse. Excuse me, the woman said to Emma. Her voice was sweet now. Fake sweet. Where did you get that blanket? Emma's voice came out small and quiet. I brought it from home. The woman's smile vanished. Her face hardened. No, you didn't. That's an airline blanket. You took it from first class. I blinked. Wait, what? Ma'am, I said, keeping my voice calm. This is my sister's personal blanket. She brought it from home. It's a weighted blanket for anxiety. The woman let out a short, sharp laugh. Don't lie to me. I'm a frequent flyer. Platinum status. I know airline property when I see it. That red color is clearly first-class issue. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This airline doesn't have red blankets. Their blankets are blue. And thin. Sealed in plastic. This is a medical comfort item that my sister owns. I don't believe you, she said flatly. She turned her whole body toward us now, invading our space. I fly this airline every week. I know what belongs to them. And that blanket is not yours. Emma's hand started shaking. She wrapped the blanket tighter around herself, like she was trying to disappear inside it. It is mine, she whispered. My doctor told me to get it. I saved my birthday money and my allowance for 6 months. I bought it myself. The woman ignored her completely. She looked at me like Emma hadn't even spoken. I'm feeling quite cold. Since this is airline property that doesn't belong to either of you, I'll be using it for the flight. Then she did the unthinkable. She reached over. Right across my lap. Her hand stretched out. Her long fingers with their perfect red nails grabbed the edge of Emma's blanket. Emma gasped. She yanked the blanket away from the woman's hand. No. Stop. Don't touch my sister, I said. My voice came out harder than I'd intended. And don't touch her things. Ever. The woman's face flushed red with anger. How dare you speak to me that way? I'm going to call the flight attendant right now. Please do, I said coldly. I'd love to hear what they have to say about you trying to steal from a teenager. Her mouth fell open in shock. Like she couldn't believe I was talking back to her. Like she'd never heard the word no in her entire life. She reached up and slammed her palm against the call button above her seat. The little light came on. A soft chime echoed through the cabin. Within seconds, a flight attendant appeared at our row. She looked young, maybe mid-20s, with kind eyes and a professional smile. Her name tag read Rachel. How can I help you today? Rachel asked pleasantly. The woman's entire attitude transformed in an instant. Her angry face melted into a mask of concern. Her voice turned sweet and helpless. Oh, thank goodness you're here, she said, placing a hand over her heart. These people have taken one of your first-class blankets. I was simply trying to explain that it's airline property and needs to be returned. Since I'm absolutely freezing, I thought I could use it properly. But they're refusing to give it back. I watched Rachel's face carefully. She looked at the woman. Then at me. Then at Emma, who was clutching the red blanket with white knuckles. Then back at the blanket itself. Rachel's smile didn't change. But her eyes became sharper. More alert. Ma'am, Rachel said calmly, that is not an airline blanket. The woman blinked. Excuse me. That is not an airline blanket, Rachel repeated slowly. Our blankets are blue. All of them. In every class of service. They come sealed in clear plastic bags. That blanket is clearly a personal item belonging to the young lady. But it's red, the woman protested. Your premium service color scheme uses red accents. I've seen your crew with these blankets before. Rachel's voice remained perfectly polite. But there was steel underneath it now. Ma'am, I can absolutely assure you that we do not have red blankets. Not in first class. Not in any class. Every single blanket on this aircraft is blue. That is a personal item. The woman's mouth opened and closed like a fish. She wasn't used to being contradicted. Especially not with facts. Well, she said, her voice rising, I'm extremely cold. I need a blanket. A proper blanket. Not this thin garbage you give to economy passengers. Rachel's smile never wavered. I'd be happy to bring you one of our blankets, ma'am. Would you like that? No, the woman snapped. I want that one. It's clearly better quality. If it really belongs to her, then she should share. We're all passengers here. She should be considerate of others. The steel in Rachel's voice became razor-sharp. Ma'am, passengers are not required to share their personal belongings. I will bring you an airline blanket. Please do not touch other passengers or their property. This is a warning. It was said politely. But it was definitely a warning. Official. Serious. The kind that goes in a report. The woman's face turned from red to purple. Fine. But I want to file a complaint. This is unacceptable customer service. You're welcome to file a complaint with our customer service team, Rachel said. I'll bring your blanket now. Rachel walked away. She returned less than 2 minutes later with a blue blanket still sealed in its plastic wrapper. She handed it to the woman with a professional smile. The woman snatched it from Rachel's hands. She ripped open the plastic, pulled out the thin blue blanket, and held it up with disgust written all over her face. This is pathetic, she said loudly. This wouldn't keep a hamster warm. This is the garbage you expect paying customers to use. That is our standard blanket, ma'am, Rachel said. Her voice remained calm. Patient. But I could hear the effort it took. Is there anything else I can help you with? No, the woman huffed. She threw the blue blanket over her lap with exaggerated, angry movements. This airline has gone downhill. Absolutely downhill. Rachel turned to me and Emma. Her expression softened. Are you too comfortable? Do you need anything at all? We're fine, I said. Thank you so much. Rachel looked at Emma. She gave her a warm, genuine smile. That's a beautiful blanket, sweetheart. The color is gorgeous. Red is my favorite color. Emma smiled back. A real smile that reached her eyes. Thank you. It's my favorite too. I can see why, Rachel said kindly. Then she looked at the woman one more time. The warmth vanished from her expression. Please remember what I said about personal property, ma'am. The woman didn't respond. She just stared straight ahead, radiating fury. Rachel walked away to attend to other passengers. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. You okay? I asked Emma quietly. She nodded. But I could see her hands still shaking slightly. That was scary. I know. But Rachel took care of it. The blanket is yours. Nobody can take it. She tried though, Emma said softly. She really tried. Yeah, I said. She did. But she failed. And she's not going to try again. I was wrong about that too. The plane pushed back from the gate. The flight attendants did their safety demonstration. The engines roared to life. We taxied down the runway. Then, with a surge of power, we lifted into the sky. Emma watched out the window as the ground fell away beneath us. She gripped her blanket. But she was breathing steadily. She was okay. I pulled out my book again. Tried to read. But I couldn't focus. I was too aware of the woman sitting next to me. She hadn't said anything since Rachel left. But the anger rolling off her was almost physical. It filled the air between us like a toxic cloud. She shifted in her seat constantly. Her bracelets clinked together. She sighed. Long, dramatic sighs. Every few minutes. Like she wanted everyone to know how miserable she was. I ignored her. I kept my eyes on my book. Emma had her earbuds in, listening to her music, watching the clouds outside her window. 30 minutes into the flight, the woman spoke again. "You know," she said loudly, "that blanket is unsanitary." I didn't look up from my book. "Excuse me? That blanket. It's filthy. People shouldn't be allowed to bring dirty things from their homes onto a clean airplane. It's probably covered in germs. Bacteria. Maybe even bedbugs." I slowly turned my head to look at her. "The blanket is washed regularly. It's clean." "You can't know that," she said. "It should be against the rules. For health and safety. It's cleaner than the tray table you're about to eat off," I said flatly. "Or the seat you're sitting on. Or the armrest you're touching right now." Her eyes went wide. "How dare you speak to me like that? I'm just stating facts, ma'am." She made a disgusted sound and turned away from me. She pulled the thin blue blanket higher on her lap. She wrapped her arms around herself and shivered dramatically. "So cold," she muttered. Loud enough for me to hear. "So very, very cold. Unlike some people who stole warm blankets." I ignored her. I went back to my book. But I couldn't read the words anymore. My mind was too busy staying alert. Watching. Waiting for her next move. Another hour passed. The flight attendants came through with the drink service. Rachel stopped at our row with her cart. "What can I get you folks?" she asked with a smile. "Apple juice, please," Emma said politely. "Same for me," I added. Rachel poured 2 cups of apple juice over ice and handed them to us with napkins and little packets of pretzels. "And for you, ma'am?" she asked the woman. "Water," the woman said shortly. "Room temperature. No ice. Actually, just a little ice. But not too much." Rachel poured the water exactly as requested. She handed it over with a smile. The woman took it without saying thank you. Rachel moved on to the next row. The woman took a sip of her water. She set the cup down on her tray table. Then she stared at Emma's blanket again. That same predatory stare from before. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. The plane hit a small patch of turbulence. Nothing serious. Just a few gentle bumps. The captain's voice came over the speaker, calm and professional. "Folks, we're just passing through a little bit of rough air here. Nothing to worry about. We're going to keep the seatbelt sign on for a few minutes. Flight attendants, please take your seats." The plane bounced gently. A few passengers gasped. Emma gripped her blanket tighter. She didn't like turbulence. But the weight of the blanket helped ground her. Gave her something solid to hold on to. And that's when it happened. The plane dipped slightly. Just a small drop. Normal turbulence. The woman's hand shot out. It grabbed her water cup. And then, in a motion that looked deliberate to me, her wrist twisted. The cup tilted. Away from her body. Toward us. Cold water flew through the air. It splashed across the armrest. Across my arm. And across the edge of Emma's red blanket. Emma jumped. "Oh no!" The woman gasped dramatically. "Oh my goodness! Oh no! The turbulence! My water just flew everywhere." But I had watched it happen. I had seen her hand move. That wasn't the turbulence. That was deliberate. "You did that on purpose," I said quietly. Her eyes went wide with fake shock. "What? How dare you?" The plane dropped. My water spilled. "It was an accident." "The plane barely moved," I said, keeping my voice level. "And you tilted that cup away from yourself. Toward us. I watched you do it. That is the most ridiculous accusation I've ever heard." Her voice got louder. "Louder. You're accusing me of assaulting you with water?" This is insane. You're insane. People around us started turning to look. Whispers spread through the cabin. I saw phones coming out. People were watching. Recording. Emma frantically tried to dab at her blanket with her napkin. The water was soaking into the thick fabric. Her hands shook. Her eyes filled with tears. It's okay, she whispered to herself. It'll dry. It's okay. But I could see she wasn't okay. This blanket was her safety. Her comfort. And this horrible woman had deliberately attacked it. I reached up and pressed the call button. Rachel appeared within seconds. Her face was concerned. What happened here? The woman jumped in before I could speak. This man is harassing me. The plane hit turbulence. My water spilled. It was a complete accident. And now he's accusing me of doing it on purpose. He's verbally attacking me. I feel unsafe. Rachel looked at me. At Emma. At the wet blanket. At the water on the armrest. Then she looked at the woman's lap. Her clothes. Her tray table. Completely dry. Rachel was smart. She understood physics. Water doesn't spill away from the person holding the cup unless they make it do that. I see, Rachel said slowly. Her voice was professional. Calm. But I could hear the edge in it. Sir, can you tell me what you saw? She deliberately threw her water at my sister's blanket, I said calmly. I was watching. The turbulence was very minor. She tilted the cup away from herself. Toward us. This was not an accident. That is a complete lie, the woman shrieked. I want to file a formal complaint. I want him removed from this flight. He's dangerous. A voice spoke up from across the aisle. It was a man with gray hair and glasses. He looked like a teacher or a professor. Excuse me, he said clearly. I saw what happened. The lady tilted her cup toward them. Deliberately. It was not the turbulence. You stay out of this, the woman shouted at him. This is none of your business. Ma'am, Rachel said firmly, please lower your voice right now. Rachel pulled out a small notepad from her pocket. She clicked her pen. I'm documenting this incident. I need to report this to the captain. She walked quickly to the front of the plane. She picked up the phone by the cockpit door. I couldn't hear what she was saying, but I saw her nodding. Writing notes. Looking back at our row. When she returned, her expression was serious. Ma'am, she said to the woman, the captain has been informed of the situation. This is your final warning. If there are any more incidents, any at all, you will be met by security when we land. Do you understand? The woman's face turned purple with rage. This is discrimination. I'm the victim here. I'm being harassed. The captain has been very clear, Rachel said, her voice like ice. No more incidents. Keep your hands to yourself. Do not touch other passengers or their belongings. This is not negotiable. The woman opened her mouth to argue. Then she saw Rachel's face. The absolute seriousness there. She closed her mouth. She crossed her arms tightly across her chest. She stared straight ahead with pure hatred in her eyes. Rachel turned to Emma. Her expression softened immediately. Sweetie, I'm so sorry. Let me get you some paper towels to help dry your blanket. Thank you, Emma whispered. Her voice was shaking. Rachel brought a whole stack of paper towels. Emma carefully dabbed at the wet spots on her blanket. The fabric was thick, so the water hadn't soaked all the way through. It would be okay. It would dry. But the damage had been done. Emma's safe space had been violated. Her eyes were red. She was trying not to cry. I put my hand on her shoulder. It's going to be fine. The blanket will dry. And she's not going to do anything else. Emma nodded. But she didn't look convinced. The next 2 hours of the flight were the most tense I'd ever experienced. The woman sat perfectly still. Silent. But the rage coming off her was almost visible. It filled the air between us like electricity before a lightning strike. I couldn't read. I couldn't relax. I just sat there, alert, watching, waiting for whatever she would do next. Because I knew she wasn't done. People like her never are. Emma tried to sleep. She leaned against the window, her blanket wrapped around her shoulders. But I could tell she wasn't really sleeping. Just resting with her eyes closed. Still on guard. Finally, the captain's voice came over the speaker again. "Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for landing." We were descending. Almost there. Almost done with this nightmare. The plane dropped altitude. My ears popped. The ground came into view below us. Buildings. Roads. The runway approaching. The landing gear came down with a heavy thunk. The plane tilted as we lined up with the runway. Then, with a screech of tires, we touched down. The engines roared as they reversed thrust. We slowed rapidly. The plane taxied off the runway toward our gate. Everyone started getting restless. People unbuckled seatbelts even though the sign was still on. They stood up and opened overhead bins. But then the captain's voice came back on. And this time, his tone was different. Serious. Commanding. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened. I repeat, everyone must remain seated until the aircraft has completely stopped at the gate and I have turned off the seatbelt sign. Do not stand. Do not open overhead bins. Remain seated." The message repeated. Twice. The cabin went quiet. This wasn't normal. Something was happening. Everyone sat back down. The plane rolled slowly toward our gate. Finally, it stopped. The engines shut off. But the seatbelt sign stayed on. 1 minute passed. 2 minutes. People started whispering. Then the seatbelt sign finally dinged off. In that exact second, the woman exploded into motion. Her seatbelt flew open with a loud snap. She shot to her feet. Her face was twisted with rage. "Give me that blanket," she screamed. And then she lunged. She threw herself across me. Her arms stretched out. Her hands clawed at Emma's blanket. She tried to rip it away. Emma screamed. She held on with all her strength. "No. Stop. Help." I grabbed the woman's arms. "Get off her. Now." "It's mine," the woman shrieked. Her voice was wild. Desperate. "You stole it. I'm taking what's mine." People all around us started yelling. Phones came out everywhere. Everyone was filming. A deep voice boomed from behind us. "Ma'am. Let go of that blanket right now." A large man appeared in the aisle. Tall. Broad-shouldered. He grabbed the woman by her shoulders and pulled her back. Firmly. Safely. But she couldn't move forward anymore. "Let go," he commanded. His voice was calm but absolutely authoritative. "Right now." Rachel came running down the aisle, her face shocked. "Ma'am. Stop this immediately." The woman struggled against the man's grip. But he held her steady. She couldn't reach Emma anymore. Finally, she stopped struggling. She stood there, breathing hard, her hair messed up, her eyes wild. Rachel stepped between the woman and our seats. "Ma'am, you just physically assaulted a minor passenger. Do not move from this spot." The woman's chest heaved. She looked around at all the phones pointed at her. At all the passengers staring. Recording. Witnessing. Reality seemed to hit her all at once. Her face went pale. Rachel pulled out her radio. We need security at gate B7 immediately. Passenger assault. Multiple witnesses. I didn't. She. The woman stammered. They stole airline property. I was just trying to return it. That is not airline property, Rachel said coldly. I've told you that repeatedly. You just attacked a child. Security is on the way. 2 minutes later, though it felt like an hour, 2 airport security officers walked onto the plane. They wore dark blue uniforms. Their expressions were serious and professional. What's the situation? The first officer asked. Rachel explained quickly and clearly. This passenger has been harassing these 2 since boarding. She made false claims about their personal property. She threw water at them. And just now, she physically lunged at the minor and tried to forcibly take her blanket. Multiple passengers witnessed everything. Several have video evidence. The officer looked at the woman. Then at me and Emma. Then at the phone still pointed in our direction. Ma'am, he said to the woman, you need to come with us. I didn't do anything wrong, the woman protested. Her voice cracked. They have airline property. I was just trying to. That's not an airline blanket, Rachel interrupted. I've confirmed that multiple times. It's personal property. You assaulted a passenger trying to take it. The gray-haired man from across the aisle spoke up. Officer, I recorded the whole thing on my phone. The assault. Everything. She attacked that girl completely unprovoked. Me too, said another passenger. A woman from the row behind us. I got it on video as well, said someone else. The officer nodded. We'll need those videos. Please follow me when we're done here. He turned back to the woman. Ma'am, you need to gather your belongings and come with us. Now. The woman looked around desperately. Looking for support. For someone to take her side. She found no one. Every face showed disgust. Anger. Judgment. This isn't fair, she whispered. Her voice sounded broken now. I was cold. I just wanted to be warm. You assaulted a child, the officer said flatly. Let's go. The second officer retrieved her bag from the overhead bin. The woman grabbed her purse with shaking hands. She didn't look at us as they escorted her down the aisle toward the exit. As she disappeared from view, someone in the back of the plane started clapping. Slow claps at first. Then more people joined in. Within seconds, the entire cabin was applauding. Not applauding to be mean. Applauding in relief. In support of us. In celebration that justice was being done. The officer who stayed behind took statements from everyone. From me. From Emma. From the gray-haired man, whose name was Mr. Peterson, and he was indeed a retired teacher. From the large man who'd grabbed the woman, his name was Marcus, and he was an off-duty firefighter. Multiple passengers airdropped their videos to the officer. He collected everyone's contact information. He was thorough and professional. When he got to Emma, he knelt down beside her seat. Are you okay, young lady? Emma nodded. Tears were streaming down her face now. I'm okay. My brother protected me. The officer smiled kindly. He sure did. You've got a good brother there. The best, Emma said, looking at me. After the officer finished, he stood up. That woman will be facing serious consequences. Assault. Interference with flight crew duties. She'll probably be banned from this airline. Possibly others too. And there may be criminal charges. Good, I said simply. When everyone had finally deplaned, we were the last ones to stand up. Rachel waited with us. I am so sorry you both went through that, she said. She looked genuinely upset. That should never have happened. You were amazing, I told her honestly. You handled everything perfectly. You protected us. Thank you. That's my job, Rachel said. But this went way beyond normal difficult passenger situations. You two were incredibly brave. Especially you, Emma. You stood up for yourself. You didn't let her take what was yours. Emma hugged her blanket close. It was mostly dry now. Still a little damp in one corner. But safe. Still hers. I wasn't going to let her have it, Emma said quietly. It's mine. I worked hard for it. And I need it. And you kept it, Rachel said warmly. You were so strong. We gathered our things and walked off the plane. Into the bright, clean terminal. The ordeal was finally over. Emma walked beside me, her red blanket folded neatly in her arms. She didn't need to wear it right now. She was calm. Steady. Strong. We walked past the gate area. Past the other passengers from our flight. Several of them smiled at us. Gave us thumbs up. One woman even said, "Good for you, sweetheart. I'm glad you're okay." Emma smiled back at them. We made our way through the terminal toward baggage claim. That's where Aunt Sarah was waiting to pick us up. Emma looked up at me. That was really scary. I know, I said. I'm sorry you had to go through that. It's not your fault, Emma said. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "But I learned something today." What's that? I learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I was scared. Really scared. But I didn't let her take my blanket. I held on. And people helped us. Rachel helped us. Mr. Peterson helped us. Marcus helped us. Even people who didn't know us stood up for what was right. I smiled. Yeah. They did. So maybe the world isn't as scary as I thought, Emma said thoughtfully. Maybe there are more good people than bad people. There definitely are, I assured her. The bad ones are just louder. But the good ones? They're everywhere. You just saw that today. Emma nodded. She looked down at her red blanket. I still need this. For anxiety. For flights. For when things get overwhelming. Of course you do, I said. And that's completely okay. But now I know something else, Emma continued. I know that I can be brave even when I'm scared. I can stand up for myself. And I don't have to face things alone. Never alone, I promised. I've got your back. Always. She grinned at me. I know you do. We reached baggage claim. Aunt Sarah spotted us immediately and came running over, her arms outstretched. There are my favorite travelers, she exclaimed. How was the flight? Emma and I looked at each other. We both smiled. Interesting, I said. Very interesting, Emma agreed. Well, you'll have to tell me all about it in the car, Aunt Sarah said, giving us both huge hugs. As we walked toward the exit, Emma held her red blanket close. Not because she needed it right at that moment. But because it was hers. Because she'd fought for it. Because she'd learned that she was strong enough to protect the things that mattered to her. The woman who tried to steal Emma's comfort. She was somewhere behind us, dealing with security, facing consequences, probably banned from ever flying this airline again. But Emma? She walked out of that airport with her head held high, her blanket safe in her arms, and a new understanding of her own strength. Sometimes the bad guys don't win. Sometimes justice actually happens. Sometimes flight attendants named Rachel shut down entitled people who think they can take whatever they want. And sometimes a 15-pound red-weighted blanket becomes more than just a tool for managing anxiety. Sometimes it becomes a symbol of standing up for yourself. Of knowing your worth. Of refusing to let anyone take what's yours. Emma learned all of that on Flight 447. And she'd never forget it.